How's it, folks? Patch 1.3 has just gone live for Dying Light the Beast, and there's a couple of decent changes in this patch. It's not a minor hotfix patch, in other words. Instead of going through every single change in the patch, I'll just post the patch notes in the comment section and I'll highlight what I consider the major changes for this update. And that means we're going to be starting off with, they've added the ability that human enemies like the bandits or the Baron's troops will surrender if you point a gun at them. But there's a couple of conditions. Firstly, it doesn't seem to work if they already have a gun because they'll just shoot you instead. So it only works on the human enemies with melee weapons. And secondly, if you point a gun at them and they raise their hands to surrender, but you perform some other action or an infected interrupts them, like attacks them, then they will basically get triggered back into combat state and then they will not want to surrender anymore, so you'll have to take them out. But it is nice that they've added in the ability to force the human enemies to surrender by pointing a gun at them. Next major change that they introduced is 9 new weapon executions. I will do a separate video highlighting all the different animations for these executions because I do know YouTube is not going to like how those are performed in Dying Light the Beast, just like they restricted the similar videos from Dying Light 2's executions. So I'll just do that in a separate video. Next point to bring up is the Week 3 Call of the Beast Community Challenge. This one involves shooting enemies with a firearm. As long as you hit an enemy, it doesn't have to be human or infected, it could be either. It doesn't have to be headshots, as long as you hit the enemy, it will count. But it has to be with a firearm that shoots bullets. So you can't use a flamethrower and you can't use a ranged weapon like a bow and arrow or the crossbow. It has to be a gun that shoots bullets. Once the community has landed 10 million shots, we will unlock the Marksman car skin. And then after getting 20 million shots, we will unlock the Bruiser Marksman rifle, which, if it's similar to how the other weapons have turned out for these community challenges, will also involve the blueprint, which means we can upgrade it to legendary, which means we'll finally get a legendary Marksman rifle, so you don't have to run around with a grey weapon in inventory when everything else is legendary, which will be nice to finally have. Hopefully it turns out like that. And speaking of community challenges, last week's one involving the drop kicks worked out pretty well. We got it quite early, got the car skin and the sunset machete. Just remember, when you claim the weapon, move it to your inventory before dismantling it so that you get the blueprint for the weapon, because you only get one of these per save. Otherwise you would have to start a new save file to unlock the weapon or have someone drop it for you in co-op. And then, because we also went quite a bit over the community goals from last week's community challenge, they gave us a couple of extra Docket codes that you can add into the Dying Light outpost. If you want more dockets, I'll post the codes for that in the description of the video. And then, of course, from tomorrow is going to be the start of the Dying Light Beast PUBG Mobile collab, where basically we're going to be having a new quest line involving using the new car skin and then racing towards airdrops to pick up weapons before other human enemies get them. So if you played a lot of Dying Light 1, you'll be familiar with the airdrop mechanic. It's going to be a couple of quests involved with us, and we're going to also be able to unlock new outfit gear pieces and a frying pan weapon, as well as another baseball bat weapon as part of the event. And the outfit will give us bonus XP, also deal more headshot damage, as well as increase the base damage when using firearms. And as it starts tomorrow, that will be quite useful for this current community challenge involving using firearms. The PUBG Crossover only starts tomorrow, but you can sign up for it on the Dying Light outpost to get the car skin already, so that you're ready to go when the event starts tomorrow. And then finally moving on to some of the other changes. There's a decent amount of changes in patch 1.3, but the main ones I want to point out is that they've increased performance and stability, including resolving quite a few different crashes. They fixed a couple of different graphical issues, and then probably the most obvious changes involve balancing changes to the looting of craft parts as well as purchasing from the shops. So now you can loot an increased amount of the oxidizers, which was kind of a rate limiting factor for upgrading different blueprints. They've also reduced the cost of wirings used for weapon crafting and upgrading. And they've significantly increased the amount of loot you can purchase from the vendors towards the end of the game. And this wasn't added in the patch notes. It also seems more likely that legendary weapons show up in the vendor's inventory as well. And then finally, this wasn't added in the patch notes as far as I can see, but they've also finally added the Bruiser boots in the Exile's Cave near your bed. So for those of you who like running around with 200 weapons, or you want to have every gear piece available before you start New Game Plus, you should be able to find the Bruiser boots on the table near your bed in the Exile's Cave now. Finally. Because it has been missing since the start of the game pretty much. I'm not sure if you need to complete any specific quests, or if you have to reach a certain level, or they'll be there as soon as you reach the Exile's Cave, but they are at least in the game now, which is nice to see. And that's pretty much it for patch 1.3. I'll go into more detail about the PUBG Crossover event tomorrow once it's actually started and I've got some time with it. And then I'll also have another video coming out shortly about all the new weapon animations that have been added with this patch. Otherwise, I hope you all have a fantastic day. Take care and cheers for now.